Hari Om. Let's continue to look at the Nadis, the channels of energy where the prana flows that House described in Prana Pranayama book. So we stopped at the location of Nadis, and as usual I will read something and tell you whatever will come through that time. The system of Kundalini Yoga describes Muladhara chakra as the main plexus of the pranic body from which the Nadis emanate. And it's meaning that Muladhara, it's the one that's located at the base of your body, the torso. There is a quite specific descriptions, depends on which school you are. But generally speaking, you're thinking about perineal area. Traditionally, if you look at the image of Ida, Pingala and Sushumna, they all originated from there. And we have the channels coming through. Here described Ida, Pingala and Sushumna coiling around the spinal passage from left to right, while Sushumna flows straight up through the middle. And Sushumna kind of one-to-one basically could be put onto where your actual spinal column with the spinal nervous system. Ida emerges from the left of Muladhara, Pingala from the right, and Sushumna flows straight up through the center. From Muladhara chakra, Pingala curves to the right and crosses Svatisthana, goes to the left to Manipura, then to the right to Anahata, to the left to Vishuddhi, to the right to the Ajna, and to the top of the spine, right to Sahasrara. Sahasrara is this top chakra, kind of located where my bun today, kind of like over your head. And it's attributed to be one that it's kind of outside of the realm of the human being, so it's a little bit something step up. But we still have it and we can still feel it. Ida flows a similar path, but on the opposite side. As Pingala crosses to the right, Ida crosses to the left, and so on. You see it on the diagram, and Ida and Pingala cross over at each chakra. The energy current branches off via the network of nadis to all the respective organs and parts of the body. In this way, the matrix of nadi carries these two opposite forces to every cell, organ, and part of the body. And that's what they said in the previous talk about the nadis, and there's apparently much more chakras, much more nadis that we usually work with directly in yoga class, and we're kind of aware of, but there's a small and more, but there's so many of them. And if you kind of go into specific techniques, you might discover some new passages or chakras, and you can rediscover that you've been using them through your life or in your yoga practice, but not just were aware of them or how they're called. With Muladhara, it's also traditionally, I talked about this in chakra course a lot. So we, in my lineage, we consider the sleep, where the Kundalini is sleeping, it's from Muladhara. So that's where the Pingala is awaking from, coming from, and Sushumna. But in some yogic schools, or for example, Buddhist schools, if we think about, I think Nepalese monks, they attributed it to coming from Manipura. So if your Kundalini is still in Muladhara, Svatisthana, those lower chakras, you still have to work towards bringing high here to Manipura, and then you can start working on Kriya Yoga to waking up the Kundalini. Kind of like these little peculiarities, and depends, like even in Bihar school, we traditionally go from bottom to top, kind of like on from subtle to from gross to subtle. But if you, for example, practice tantric styles of yoga, it's the ancient yoga that where all the modern schools originated from. And this there's some teachers and gurus who do know tantric yoga still on this planet, and they still pass into the knowledge. But it's traditionally been very from mouth to ear, from teacher to the aspirant to student, and very specific situation, and not all the knowledge could be passed like that. You kind of have to, be acquired to get this knowledge. So in tantric, there's understanding of it doesn't matter where you are here, or Kundalini, or Anahata, or Manipura, or where you are. You can awaken this energy force any moment and any time on any every different way. And that's why this misconception about tantric yoga. Some people attributed it to specifically the tantric, called sexual, whatever, intercourse interactions. So through the waking up the sexual energy, you can be getting this enlightenment. I guess that's the idea. Come through the Western world, like through people who doesn't know much about yoga. But it's actually not what Tantra Yoga says. Well, absolutely, and it's not just, it's a very small one part of it. Could be, and the idea is you can awaken your Kundalini through wherever, any particular chakra or not, or just any particular other practices. When in traditional kind of taught step by step, stage by stage yoga, which have a lot of logic to it, you have very like you growing up slowly. There's a health and safety come here. It's better to go step by step and from growth, so you prepared whatever coming to you, and with this new knowledge and abilities, cities, your abilities that you acquire through the yoga practice, more responsibility come to you. In many schools, to not to give people all these very strong, powerful tools so they can burn themselves down very fast. We cannot gradually do this. But in the same time, it might happen anytime, even with people who doesn't even practice yoga, doesn't know anything about yoga. That's what Tantric Yoga says. And I do have knowledge of both in techniques, of both in practice and experience. Essentially, at the end of the day, we're all talking about the same. It's just a different approach, understanding of it. So to the point about monks, some of the Buddhist monks, they do wait when you kind of prepare yourself and you establish in Manipura. So that's where you Kundalini, and then you can enlighten better. There could be there are specific reasons why they're doing this. Some Kriya Yoga that's coming from Bihar school, you don't have to. You can start from Muladhara. So let's continue. Ida governs the left side of the body and Pingala the right. Well, these kind of things which we're going to go through now, it's very reference ones, and it doesn't have to be like that in yoga. And the more you practice yoga, the more you will know that how it's supposed to be, or the image you should see or experience you should have on the mat or outside of the mat. They are very indicative, so it doesn't have to be like that. And you will have your own personal experience anyway. And remember, every experience that here described or been told to you by somebody who practices or teachers or whatever, it will be there, come through the prism of their perspective, their understanding, their level of evolution, spiritual evolution, understanding, the language barrier. All these things will be imprinted in this description. So that's why we have techniques when we try to give you directions, some words, and some words could be very, 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 very differently come and landed to anybody's mind and understanding through the practice. We try to, in the Bihar school, have very specific phrases we use, and you might even hear them through different people that come from same teacher, because they, through the time and practice, find to be ones that really particular direct you into your practice. And this is a very important point here in yoga. We have to remember that's whatever you experience, it's very personal, and it will depend on your state right now, how you experience this. And you do need to understand that when people tell you something, it was same for them. So they heard it from somebody who reinterpreted, they interpreted it their way, and then they tell it to you in any particular way. So just keep in mind, it's very indicative, and there's no right or wrong. Yeah? So Ida governs the left side, body, Pingala the right, can be explained with the analogy of the magnet. It's a good analogy. If a magnet is cut in half, either end of the magnet assumes opposite polarity. So either both ends. So you have a magnet stick, and then you cut it in half, and these sticks that behave as a full magnet, so left and right appeared on it. And it's because you just have a current of flow. Similar in our body, if you can see the Nadis is like a channels where this current, for example, electricity in a wire in the wall go through from negative to positive, or whatever, from positive to negative. And same here, we have this energy flow in the body. It doesn't matter the short distance, it will apply to the biggest distance in a bigger scale. And of course, qualities and attributes will change with the scale, how we know, for example, in electricity, magnetism, but this is a different topic for conversation. So similar, the polarity, the body is polarized to the Pingala governs the right side and the Ida the left. The central axis of the Ida and Pingala is Sushumna. This Nadi is the mystical path of yoga that flows in between Ida and Pingala. Sushumna rises straight up through the center of the spine, meeting Ida and Pingala at the points where they cross the chakras and uniting with them at Ajna chakra. And you can see it very well on the image. And that's why we call them main chakras, 7 chakras, 6 and 7 Sahasrara, the one which we'll work with in yoga directly because it's the easiest to feel. They're like the bigger intersections in the body, they apply the more applied energetic and qualitative aspects to them. They're connected to our physical being, like our organs, hormonal system, metabolism, nervous system, this kind of stuff. They're also attributed to our understanding of the world, feelings, sensations, responses, and all psychiatry, psychology, everything, this emotions, tendencies. So this is the chakras. And so these 6 ones, kind of the main ones, and the one on top of the head, Sahasrara, which we essentially don't have much control of, but we get much stuff from outer universe through that point, in the Bindu. In the Pingala, they're kind of going through them. And Sushumna going in between. And that's what I told you before, when we're trying to awaken Kundalini, the energy. We're trying to balance both, Ida Pingala, so the energy flows equally, then all chakra will be equally activated. And by doing this, you activated all the parts of the brain at the same time. And the Sushumna will have this like a green light, the corridor will open. You know, if you ever played the computer games or something like that, you have to unlock all the doors, and then you can, I don't know, water flow through all the channels straight wide. Unless one door is locked somewhere, you will have a blockage and you cannot get through. So the same here. If you're more kind of analytical, you can keep in your mind like that. However, it says here the mystical path. And why it says mystical path? You can have 2 meanings of the word mystic. Mystic, somebody who does something which we not very understand. But behind this could be some kind of logic. So for example, for, I don't know, some tribes in Amazon, when people arrived on the big boats and bring cell phones, for example, there was a mystic for them, the cell phones, so they can communicate with the world through the distance and this kind of stuff. At the same time, there's a very scientific explanation, and there's nothing mystical about it. At the same time, some people don't understand still how internet works, and for them it is all mystic. So same in yoga. We don't know how our body works. We don't know about these chakras. We're not aware of it. So for us, it's all the mystic. Well, how this person could, in 5 minutes, bring me from one state to other, or make me, instead of feeling sad and angry, make me feeling calm and loving. So all this kind of stuff. And people attribute it to the mysticism. So that's what you can say. In the same time, the mystic here, I might understand it, is a Sushumna. It's the one, we have very respectful approach to Sushumna in yoga. So we treat it as something that we have within us, so it's part of us. At the same time, it's something that was given to us from beyond, from somebody who wiser, smarter, and mystical for us, because we don't understand everything about it. So that's why we treat Sushumna sometimes like this very gracious, kind, mystical creature or something, thing in our body, channel. And if you think about it, it is mystical, because the moment you bring into this balance and activate it throughout, there's much more about Sushumna. We can do whole seminars about Sushumna. Once you kind of activated it, it will open it up to you from all the different aspects. So first of all the chakras resides this, and they all, each of them separately and together, they're all mystical. And also the Sushumna bring you to this, connect you and become part of this mystical world, which all the yogis are trying to get to. Although I cannot say about all yogis, I'll say about all yogis who follow paths like I do. There's some people practice yoga for particular special reasons they have. And this is a different story, and this is why they practice yoga. And I always say it, you use your yoga practice. You can use it for any particular reasons you need to. Some people do something, change in their life, in the body, or they want to change environment around them, or they do it for any other very limited specific purposes. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter why you started to do your practice. You always come to this greater purpose of yoga. So it is mystical indeed. Sushumna is the pathway through which the Kundalini rises, and thus forms the basis for the progressive awakening for higher knowledge. However, this pathway remains dormant in most people until a higher state of evolution is reached. And here it's not evolution biological that we get used to, taught at school, maybe in some schools, but it's this evolution spiritual. When you go beyond and above everyday's purposes and understanding, and you have a little bit different perspective on life. The inner structure of Sushumna comprises 3 subtle nadis. So even within Sushumna, there's 3 subtle nadis. I told you there's much more to Sushumna, which become active when Sushumna is awakened. Inside Sushumna is Vajra Nadi, within which lies Chitra or Chitrini Nadi, and at the center a Brahma Nadi, the subtlest flow. So you can imagine it like when we, I don't know, like a cable, you cut it through and you see this outer layer, insular layer, and deeper layer. That's how I see it. Brahmanadi is so called because the high centers of consciousness are directly activated via this channel. Yep. And that's the mystic part of it. When the Kundalini Shakti passes through this channel, transcendental experiences take place. And that's exactly why we call it mystical. Although the Sushumna within the body and the head is here, and we have a lot of these central chakras points within the head, which kind of more higher state and connect us to the universe. Sushumna in the body, it's integral part, and that's why we are the human beings. We cannot exist without our body, and the body cannot exist without our head. That's how I see it. So I hope you have a little understanding of the Nadis and the locations and importance in yoga. Blessings.